What is good, rookies? Welcome to our really in-depth and our first trade analysis leading into the buy rounds. So, starting at round 11, leading all the way into round 15, we're going to look at structure for buys. We're going to look at trade targets. We're going to look at my team and how I'm looking for the trades and my strategy moving forward in hopes that if you have a similar structure or similar players, you can pretty much take this on board and look at how to structure. And there'll be a few key tips and pointers that I want to look at leading forward because our team's a little bit in shambles. Not going to lie, a little bit in shambles for some trades, especially coming around 14, which I think everyone and most people are going to struggle with. But this is where like active trading comes into play and can really benefit us to kind of make sure we're not missing too many primos from the field. Now, before I get into any in-depth analysis further in the video, I do want to say a massive thank you to all the subscribers, all 39 of you. All the love on other streams from Supercoach Edge, Center Bounce, just all the local legends, Supercoach Pro, Shorty. Just thank you so much for all the support and love. If you have not subscribed, please do so. Got an X account, got a TikTok, which I'm not posting as much these days as I like to post more of the official content here on YouTube. So again, massive shout out to all you legends and everyone watching. I appreciate all the support and love. And yeah, just really sinking my teeth into Supercoach and I've been enjoying it. I think I've been bitten. It's definitely been a wild ride so far. But without further ado, we're gonna look at my team first, and then we're pretty much gonna go pretty general, and we're gonna look at my trades for this round with trade ins, trade outs, with the buy structure in mind. So, looking at our team here, when it comes to trade outs for our team, now we're gonna have a quick look out at trade outs in general for this week. As I said, I usually look at the top 1% first. Now we can see a lot of people getting off Darcy Wilson. He's pretty much maxed out his cash generation. He's got a break even of like 75, 76, which is just around his average. Has been known to pop off around 90. So there is still plenty of chances that he makes his break even and surpasses it and makes a little bit more cash. But ideally, he's not really going to be making too much more. I can imagine he maybe gets up to like 425 maximum. So really good if you can trade him up to a primo, especially Uber Primo, maybe Zorko, maybe Heaney, even some of the mids like Butters and Merritt, which we'll go into later. So Wilson, definitely a solid choice to trade out. However, and this is keeping in mind for my team and potentially your team, if you need a warm body who can be pretty much a solid benefit of staying on field to help cover some buys, I think Wilson's fine to hold on to. I personally will be doing this this week unless I kind of change my strategy up, which I don't think I will. But I think I'm going to hold Wilson for at least one more round as I don't have the necessity to trade him out this week. I can get to a player that I'm looking to purchase and bring in without having to use Wilson. And I can use Wilson probably next week, along with Colossi, for example, to make some cash and get some primos in ahead of the buy rounds. So we've got Wilson, we've got Darcy Jones, very clear trade out. He is about 6 to 8 weeks with the hamstring. So I don't think he's a necessity to trade out this week. If you want to use him as a loop option, you can certainly do that. There are some trade strategies depending on who's named. Again, if Reed is named from Essendon to try to pretty much be back in the team, we'll pretty much be looking at potential options to go Howes and Closey out this week. Make a bit more cash. Use Darcy as a loop. Ask Darcy Jones as a loop. There's so many Darcys. Got Sam Darcy, Darcy Jones, Darcy Wilson. It's just the Darcy's popping off. But yeah, so you can use Darcy Jones as a loop option. His value isn't going anywhere anytime soon, which isn't a lot. He's only made us about 60k. Not ideal. Colossi, he's definitely a good trade out target if you've got no one else to trade out. He does have, I think like it's a 30-ish break even. So he definitely will meet that and go over it. So he's still got a little bit more cash to make. Not too much though. So definitely if you've got no one else to trade out, go for it. Same thing with Will Graham. Hard to see if he's going to be getting injected back into the side given the run. All chances he does come back in, but we'll see. The next player we have is Hugo. Now, Hugo is one that I would be potentially holding on to until teams are named. I feel like there's a really good chance that he will get named and brought back in. Not sure why he necessarily got dropped. It's quite uncertain, but he had a really good game in the VFL over the weekend, so would be very, very surprised if he's not named this week. Good old McKercher. He's not coming back this week. So we're looking at 3 weeks total, potentially 4. I don't imagine they're going to be rushing into getting him back anytime soon unless he's in proper form. So I definitely think this is a safe trade out target. An unfortunate safe trade out target is Rankin. He unfortunately has done some damage and won't be coming back until probably after his bye. I can imagine, I think they said a few weeks, so he would come back the game before their bye, but I can't really imagine them stressing that much and pushing him to come back then and just take the extra week off with the bye as well. So I think this is a really good trade out. Pretty easy swap to a primo to replace. Hopefully you can get Rankin up to a mid, unless you've got your Heaney, your Flanders, even a Fisher. Rankin down to Fisher is a great trade. Howes, Fife, and Biggie, all solid trade outs. Look, trade ins are going to be very interesting. Now, we have Richards, who seems to be a great pick for the forward line. Job security looks pretty steady given the injuries happening over at Collingwood. Western Bulldogs, we've done this before. We looked at this with Riley Garcia. We got scared away from Bevo, and we actually missed the better rookie and went Rogers instead, which hasn't turned out to be that great. So obviously there is the Bevo factor to take into factor here, but he has got DPP, which always comes in handy. Could get a decent run. There's no reason why he wouldn't. So I think either of these are a great option. I think people are definitely favouring Richards though, given the extended time frame of the injuries at Collingwood and coming back later than expected, which is always good for job security. And they've got 2 debutants playing this week as well. So I'd imagine there'll be no issues with Richards getting a few more games and getting that cash gen up. Fisher is definitely a really good trade target this week. I think he's just concreting himself into that role and then also bringing in some consistent points on field and some cash gen. Now, we picked him up last week, so we're benefiting really well off that cash gen. We obviously traded him out earlier in the season, but put the pride aside and it's working out in our favour, so fingers crossed. The sexy man. I'm actually uncertain for those bringing him in. I think it's a solid play if you've got no other options. But if you've got someone you need to pretty much go 1 up, 1 down to, I can't imagine bringing in Sexton is going to benefit the trade cadence. So I would be more opting to get in a primo that you know is going to stay, because I don't see Sexton as a keeper. I think he's definitely a cash grab. So we held on to him the whole time. So we've really benefited off this cash grab. I wouldn't recommend trading him in. I don't think he's going to be a keeper. I think you're better off going like a Richards and then getting a primo that's going to stick through for the buy rounds. Houston, pretty much around his bottom out price. He'll be really towards the bottom next week. 97 of a break even, so he's not going to change too much unless he has another blowout game like last week. I don't expect that to happen. I expect maybe like a 115, 120 max. So he's probably going to go up in price, but not by too much. So you can grab him this week or grab him next. With the buys coming up, I'd grab him this week if you need him. Rao, great option. Break even of 116. Can't imagine him going too different in pricing, either up or down. So if it works within your round 14 buy structure, again, try to keep buys in mind here. I think that's a great option. Zorko, still a good option. Phillips, I probably wouldn't go early on Phillips. Not really sure what's happening over there at Hawthorn. So really just want to wait 1 more week to see kind of where Phillips lies in the team structure and if he's going to get consistent games. Merritt, I think it's great to bring in against Richmond. Obviously suiting around 14 buy structure, and same for Clary. Clary, I think is good value at 524. Obviously better value when he was at like 5 cent when we picked him up. I still think it's good value, so long as he suits your trade structure. So with that all said, we're going to have a look at my team and look at what we're thinking. So the must trade outs for us. So we've got Colossi that we can probably look at trading out next week. I'm in no rush to get rid of him just yet. Howes pretty much needs to go. He can 100% make his break even. However, it's literally his average. Pretty much. I can't imagine him doing any better. Melbourne do have St Kilda, so you never know. we'll be taking a risk to hold on to him any longer. It was risky holding on to him last week, but I guess we were expecting a bigger game from him against West Coast, and it just never happened. So we kind of expected that to a degree. He throws up stinkers. He has a spike game rarely, and we were kind of hoping that last week never happened, but that's okay. Didn't lose too much money. So what are we looking at? Well, we got our forward line, which ultimately we're not going to change here. I think our forward line is fine for now. Obviously, we can look at bringing in like Heaney this week, or ideally, and you'll see why I'm looking at a round 12 buy player in a minute. But we're ideally getting rid of Howes, potentially Colossi, potentially Jones. They're our trade outs for this week. Now, we could potentially look at trading out Sweet, but I think he is showing really good signs he's going to be named to play this weekend, which is great considering he has a negative 69. Does those in the community will know, ding ding, dinner for two. If you get the reference, leave a comment and let me know, and tag the legend himself. I think he's going to finally start making some cash for us, which is good. So, just looking at our buys, you'll see what I mean. So round 12, we've only lost 2 players, which means cool. It's a best of 18 though. So we're going to have a really good opportunity to make get some high scores on the board and potentially set a bit of difference. Round 13, we've got Houston, Sarong, Butters, and Jackson. Sweet, I will be planning to trade up before this round, as I think most people are going to be looking to trade out Sweet by then and bring in English if he's tracking well to decrease in price, or pay up for Marshall if there's no faith in the English tea. So our round for 13 is looking pretty good. Our round 14 is shocking. So Closey not going to be there. We're going to have Martin and Stewart. Now this is where we're going to be culling and probably looking at bringing in Luke Ryan, hopefully. So remember, for the buy rounds, we all have 3 trades to use. So we can look at flipping our rookies. So this is where it helps to have some cash gen rookies in the team to be able to flip during these buy rounds, because that's going to give you the leeway to bring in these promos and finish those final spots. So depending on who's performing out of Martin and Stewart, which if we're following the flow at the moment for the season, Martin's probably going to perform a lot better than Stewart. This was a regretful trade-in. I had faith in the good old Stewie to bring it, and he just hasn't brought it. He was a value pick for sure, but he's not the Stewart that we had last season. And I say that knowing I never played Supercoach before this season, but doing some history checks is not the same, which is annoying because I like the man. I go for Geelong. I had to bring in someone fun that I actually watch. Just hasn't worked out the way I wanted it to. So we're most likely going to use Stewart to hopefully make help assist us in getting a trade up to Ryan, basically. So we only have potentially one. This will be our player we basically bring in this week, which we have really 2 options for. And we'll get to those in a minute. But we can see our midfield's a little bit scarce. We've got 3 in the midfield. We lose Gawn, like most people will, and we lose Flanders. Sexton is probably going to be gone by then. He would have made his cash. And we probably would have replaced these rookies as well. Potentially. We'll see what happens. But round 14 is definitely the concern here. Round 15, not too bad. Wilson and Darcy won't be there, so we'll have more that we'll miss. We'll have potentially Bont and Steele and Dacos. So we're looking all right for round 15. So we cleared the buys. With that in mind, we're thinking forward. We're thinking buy structure. Who can we bring in? Now, if we look at the round 12 buys, you've got Brisbane, you've got Greater West Sydney, you've got Sydney, and beautiful. I could not remember North Melbourne to save the life of me. So we've got Brisbane, North, Sydney, and Giants having their buy in round 12. So this is good to know because if we look at our round 12 buy, we're only missing 2 players, which means we can technically afford to lose 1 more. So basically for my strategy, we're looking at either bringing in a round 12 player or a round 15 player to kind of maximize the buy structure to get some points on board. So who can we look at? Now, I want to keep Wilson because I'm actually not too disappointed in that forward line. Other than Moore, who I'm really hoping turns it around, I'm quite happy with the rest. Wilson's putting up decent scores. Darcy's been putting up decent scores. I can't imagine Darcy doing too well this week against Sydney, but we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Sexton, safe pick at F6. And of course, we've got Fisher sitting in at D5. So that's all change. So then who are we looking at? Well, for this one strategy I've been working on, depending on who's named, if we have Reed from Essendon named, then we can potentially look at bringing in Reed over Richards and Jolly Boy from Western Bulldogs. So in the one where Reed isn't named, we're going to be trading out Howes and Jones. We're going to be bringing in Richards. And then with all that, we're going to quickly do a filter by players we can afford. Now, in the previous video, we looked at, pretty much what our options are looking at. Now, I mentioned that we're looking at predominantly Clark, Whitfield, and Naz, good old NWM. We can look at McGovern. However, it's just that that structure for the round 14 bye that's really going to not assist us and make that any better. And that's what we're looking to really fix, is just our structure around 14. So how can we do something around that? Now, if we want an early target, we can go Whitfield. Now, Whitfield, I actually said was at the bottom. But looking at the fixture, there's actually a decent chance that this can work out well. Now, Greater West Sydney have Geelong this week, which can be good and bad. We've got both the main backmen from that team. Holmes is probably a step above Stewart at this moment, which is shocking. But if we look at the fixture coming up for GWS, he's got Geelong, then he's got Hawthorn straight after round 13, so that could be a good pickup there as well. Port, LA, then he's got Richmond, Hawthorn again. It's not horrible by any means, but it's not great. However, if we look at Naz, for example, who is the original target that I was kind of looking at, I like the idea of Clark, but I think if we're going to go Freo, I think we just wait for Ryan. I think Clark's still a great pickup at that price. He definitely has the ability to pop off some scores. It's just that means then we're stacking in. So if we have a look at our buy structure, and this is what I recommend doing if you have Supercoach Plus, is you just kind of bring them into your team and then have a look at that structure and see how it looks. So look at the round 13 buy then. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll have 5 missing. I can't imagine trading out Houston or trading out any of our top mids. But it's not going to be there. We're still going to have Jackson. So I'm not overly keen on this one just because our buy structure gets a little bit lean in our primo selection. So then what does Naz look like? Again, the only concern with Naz is if Sinclair's heading back. If Sinclair's heading to get CBAs, that's good for Naz. So if we do this, that means our round 12 buy, we still only have 2 missing, which is great for us. It means we've got more opportunity to get some bigger scores on the board. Obviously, everyone's going to be missing green. And we can kind of filter these up. So ideally, we could potentially trade out Garcia, put Garcia on a field, switch him out with Flanders, and then put Garcia either on field here, or if we trust Richards. Now, if we swing Richards, if we put him as the emergency, we get the opportunity to see how he goes on Friday night before St Kilda play on Sunday. So there could potentially be an option to loop if we want to bring in. Oh, sorry, not loop, but if we have the option to loop Richards in around 12, we can potentially try to do that. And that way we've got a full rotating roster almost of players on field, and we can have a look to see, obviously the more players we have on field, the more premiums that we have on field, the higher scores we're actually going to be able to take. So, Naz is a great pickup. Got the round 15 bye. And his run looks much better. Comes across West Coast twice. Got Richmond, Brisbane, Gold Coast, Adelaide, which is probably the toughest midfield. But we haven't got a midfielder, so we're all right. Essendon, Geelong, and Carlton. So it's not a decent. I dare say, because we've got West Coast twice and Richmond in the mix, I dare say this is probably a better run than GWS. We are paying a little bit more and don't have much left over for him. But we're not doing this trade to get cash in the bank. We're doing this trade to cover some buy rounds, because we can use Wilson and Darcy and Colossi pretty much in our trade up next week to either try and go 2 up, 1 down, or go 1 up, 1 down, go early or get another rookie, go up, pretty much go 1 up, 2 down, get the bench running, bank some cash, and try and get some cash gen flowing as well for the further rounds. So we can do that as well. So I don't mind Naz. Again, round 12 looks good. 13 looks good because then we're still only missing 4, which is the magic number here. Helps us again with this. So ideally, we want to be missing no more than 5. So we could potentially look at doing some reactive trades. So we could potentially swing out Martin or Stewart, even a Miller, if we like the performance of Merritt and Ollie, which I think we will. I think they're going to maintain form. So then if we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, it's not great. So we could potentially look at trading out some others here, just as some reactive trades. So I'm kind of going to get there. I'm going to look at these trades when we get there to see what the options are. Again, we have 3 trades to make. So we could just go bang, 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 and either use some extra cash we've got or get some rookies off the field if they've made the cash. There's options here, and that's pretty much where we're going to leave round 14. Round 15, we've got Dacos. Pretty much we want to leave it here. If Steele's not doing well, we'll trade him out. Then we've got more. Wilson and Darcy won't be a part of that final team. And obviously we won't be bringing in people to play their buy. So there will be like a Heaney here. There'll be a Zorko here. So then it's just more missing from the forward line. Well, that's the idea here is we have more and Heaney come in. And yeah, so that's like the initial plan. This is what I recommend doing with any trades that you make. And this is something that should have been done all year. I will give a shout out to the man, the myth, the legend, Abs Magic, Squadfather, who just recently did a really good video on pretty much a trade strategy and buy strategy leading up into the buys. So if you haven't checked that out, I will link it in the comments so I can tag him and you can go watch that video and just go check it out because he does this better than I could. And he's been just an absolute legend for someone who's new to Supercoach, not really too familiar with it at all. So he's definitely been a great content creator of Supercoach to watch, to learn all the strategies and all the things. So definitely go check out that video that I will link. And yeah, that's basically like our structure, our strategy leading into the buys. It is not foolproof. We will run into issues, I guarantee. As Ab said himself, you need some good luck. You can do all the right planning, but if you still run into bad luck, you're going to have to change it. So we'll see what happens. So with that all said, I'm still quite undecided on whether I want to bring in Naz or Whitfield. I like Whitfield because we can afford to have another round 12 buy player with ease, given that we have the best of 18. He is predicted to go up more. He's at his bottom out price. So we're saving a bit of 20k to move forward, which can potentially be make or break for us. Yeah, I'm still uncertain. I'm gonna be. This is gonna be one of those last minute lock in trades as well. We've got until Saturday to lock that in. So that's fine. The easiest one that we're gonna make is Jones to Richards, simply because leading into the buys, we want cash gen on the bench. We don't want any dead rooks. Clark is. Don't know what we're going to do with him. Garcia hopefully gets named. Rogers hopefully gets named. With the extra trade, we'll probably switch out Hoare to like a Reed out of necessity. And we'll probably have to fork some cash to get a bottom end rookie in this slot too. So not ideal by any means. This is what happens when you're a first year and you're still learning what the fuck's going on. And then it's like round 10 before things start clicking, even though round 10 was our worst round. But we don't talk about that. But yeah, that's my team. A few things I do want to talk about just as for general teams for potential trade targets this week. I kind of touched on them a little bit earlier in the video. But for some mids, some options you can consider. We have Green, who's under 500k. You've got the leeway in the round 12 buy. I think this is a great pickup. You've got Rao, who's also around that bottom out price. If you've got the facilities to manage him during a round 14 buy, I think you target him this week. If you can afford it in the round 14 buy, pick up Rao. There's no reason why you couldn't. He is coming up a at a tough midfield in Carlton this week, so you can potentially wait. But you know, you can pretty much go next week, or if you want to try and maximize what you get out of him, you can try to go this week if you expect him to outperform the Carlton midfield. Mid and forward, you've got Heaney. Now we could. The reason why I don't want to bring in Heaney is it means I'd have to trade out Wilson. I think Wilson is fine to hold for at least one more week. This also leaves us with better points on field for this week coming up. Because if we trade out Heaney, we have to trade out Howes and Wilson, which then means we have to swing Sexton back in. So then we'll have Fisher and Sexton at back. We'll have Heaney, but then we'll have to bring like Richards on field. Overall, not that confident to make it worth the while. So this is why I'm looking at bringing in kind of a value-ish pick down in the back line. Clary is also a great pick, just under 530k. Again, working with your buy structures, if you can make it work, let it rip. I reckon bring Clary in. I reckon he's still pretty good value at 524. Again, if you trust him. If you don't trust him, don't do it. Use your best discretion. Use your team structure to help guide your trades. Jackson, I've seen some people looking at trading in. Definitely good for buy structure and ruck cover. So if you have faith in Dogger, so we've held him from, we haven't let go of him, and we got rewarded with 154 last week, which is great. So I'd potentially be looking at him. I think he's very dependent on Darcy coming back, but Darcy has been worded to come back for like 2 weeks now and just hasn't. I think that's going to be the story that plays and unfolds for the rest of the season. Is Darcy might play every one in 3 games, maybe at max, unless he suddenly gets those needles like Zorko and comes back guns a blazing. Marshall's also a really good topic to choose from. If you're looking at obviously getting rid of Sweet early, or looking to get that R2 in your system, you've got Marshall with a break even of 7, so he's 100% going to skyrocket up to about 620-ish after this week. I can't imagine him, going up any less than 30k. So this is the last time you're probably going to get him under 600. If you trust Marshall over English, this is kind of the week you want to go. Again, if you've got rock cover, I don't think it's too much of an issue. Now, English has got a really high break even. He's projected to keep plummeting down to about Marshall's price. So we're going to target English for our sweet trade when that comes around. Hopefully he's still sitting around that 560 to 580 mark, which will make it a lot easier to make happen. And that's pretty much like trade targets for the primos that I'd be looking at. Houston is a great one for the back line. Zorko is really good for the forward line. They come up against Hawthorn this week. And I think that's really about it. Fish is a great option. I think if you need to get rid of like a Rankin, or maybe you're sick of Stewart and you just want a different cover for buy round, I think even just making it, another 37-ish, 36k just to go Fisher to Rankin, Stewart to Fisher, I think that's going to work out fine. Again, very team dependent, but I think bringing in Fisher is a solid play this week. Again, Sexton, I mentioned, probably miss the bring in, kind of missed the boat. I don't think he's not a keeper. Fisher has the potential to be at least an F6 keeper. So I think, he is a solid pick because we plan to keep him in at least F6. Sexton, however, I don't think is going to be a keeper. I think he's a cash grab, and if you didn't get on last week, I think you just kind of focus your efforts elsewhere. I was speaking about Richards. Solid pick. Jolly boy. Solid pick. Bevo condition. Again, we never saw that with Garcia. We've got Leber that's been given a few weeks to come back, which means if you're looking at Ed Richards, for example, to bring into your max as a pod, could work out for the next couple of weeks. If you got him earlier, this is probably good. You've probably got that cash grab, a little bit of money. You can switch him out to quite easily. But I'd probably be avoiding bringing in Richards. Ethan Phillips. I'd wait 1 week. They've been on the radar to try to bring him in all season. We just haven't seen it. I don't feel comfortable going early. I mean, if you have to, because he's a bottom end rookie, by all means, if it really helps, but just be prepared to, really look at the consequence if he doesn't get named. doesn't play, you've just pretty much got another dead rookie you've brought in, which is not ideal leading into the buys because you ideally want cash gen. That's why we're looking at trading out Jones. We need to get rid of these players as well. So ideally, potentially, we could be looking at going Maynard in, trade him out, get a basement rookie, whatever comes up at the basement price, which could be one of the new debutants from Collingwood, potentially. Never know. But as I mentioned, guys, this has been like a quite in-depth look at buy structure, how I'm structuring my team, how I'm looking at trades moving forward. If you guys have different strategies moving forward, leave any comments in below. What are you doing? What are you planning? How many players have you got? What's your hardest buy that you've got? I think most people have got round 14 is their toughest. I'd be curious to know if you guys have a different tougher round. So let me know. If you haven't checked out Scott Father's video on his buy strategy, definitely go give it a watch now. And with that said, guys, I will probably do a quick upload of my locked-in trades once team sheets are announced. However, I will be away from Saturday, heading overseas, going to enjoy a nice holiday, and I'll be away for a week. So I'll be trying to do maybe some quick uploads, just some face cam, quick updates. I'll see what I can work out while I'm away. But with all that, the quality won't be that good. So just a quick heads up, the quality will go to shit next week. But again, I'm a rookie. Take everything I say with a grain of salt. Refer to the legends of Supercoach. You already know who they are for final decision-making calls. But with that said, guys, again, if you're not subscribed, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit that like button and let me know that you guys are watching and enjoying the content you are seeing. And if you want to get amongst it, leave a comment. Let me know some questions. Let me know what your trades are this week and how your buy structures are looking. I'll see you guys shortly.